Well, first, let me thank the Rafael del Pino Foundation and Mrs. Maria del Pino for all of the work that the foundation has done to help the AE and also Harvard University to put on this conference. We think it's very important that there be a conference on the transatlantic relationship because there's a crisis in the relationship right now. I think we haven't seen for maybe 70 years a relationship between the United States and Europe that is so tense, that is so full of disagreements, where the two sides are unsure suddenly about the future of the alliance. In the case of the United States, we have an administration led by President Trump that has been at best ambivalent about NATO, but also quite hostile towards the European Union. It sees the European Union as a competitor to the United States, not as a strategic partner. I think this is a great mistake. None of our presidents, going back to Franklin Roosevelt, have felt this way about Europe. We always looked upon Europe as our partner, as our friend, as our ally. And that is the proper way to think about the U.S. relationship with Europe. And I worry that the alliance is weakening. I worry, of course, about the trade wars that are developing between the European Union and the United States. Worry that at a time when democracy is being threatened here in Europe by right-wing, anti-democratic populist movements in places like Hungary and Poland, and even now in the government of Italy, worry that the United States is not providing the support that we should to the democratic governments of Europe. And it's interesting, I think, now, if you look at the landscape in Europe, Britain is leaving through Brexit. The Dutch government holds a one-seat majority in Parliament. The Italian government has a right-wing party inside the government. And Germany has been weakened by the internal problems in Germany. It really is France and Spain that are now the governments that are strong and that have to help Europe through this crisis to maintain its democratic core. So we're holding this conference because we're concerned about the future of the transatlantic relationship. We care about it. It's important to all of us on both sides of the Atlantic. And we want very much to play a role in trying to revive the relationship for the future. I think NATO and the European Union are the twin pillars of the relationship between the United States and Canada and Europe. NATO is fundamental. It's fundamentally important to the security of 500 million Europeans and 320 million Americans. We're the largest group of democratic countries in the world. And of course, we're still threatened. We're threatened by terrorism. We're threatened by the policies of President Putin through his invasions of both Georgia in 2008, Crimea, and eastern Ukraine in 2014. Putin's trying to divide Europe again, and so NATO needs to be strong, hopefully not to fight, but to deter and contain the threat from Russia, the threat from terrorism. We need to complete the work that we've started in the Balkans, in Kosovo, and in Bosnia 20 years ago, and we're all serving together in Afghanistan and have been serving together there since 2003. Spanish troops, American troops, German troops, all together. I learned about the bond between NATO countries when I was U.S. ambassador to NATO on 9/11, September 11th, 2001. And when we were hit hard, when our country was attacked, that same afternoon, each of the NATO ambassadors came to me, including Ambassador Juan Praticol, who was the ambassador of Spain to NATO, and they said, we want to invoke Article 5 of the NATO treaty, and that is that an attack on one of us shall be considered an attack on all of us. And all those NATO countries came to the defense of the United States. And they all went into Afghanistan, and they're all still in Afghanistan with us 17 years later. It's difficult to create an alliance in the modern world like that. We have it. So I think that it's important that we hold on to NATO and continue to believe in it and continue to have it unite both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. And it's very important that we have a strong relationship between the United States and the European Union on economic issues, on climate change. So for me, the relationship between Europe and America is a vital one. Just 3 data points to illustrate that. Europe is the largest trade partner of the United States, not China, not India, not Japan. Europe's the largest into the economy of the United States, and of course the greatest number of our allies in the world, our treaty allies, military allies, are European. And so this transatlantic relationship is central. At Harvard, we've created a new program on Europe and the transatlantic relationship. This conference here in Madrid and Segovia is part of launching that new effort. So we're very grateful again to the Rafael del Pino Foundation for its partnership with us, and we hope that will continue in the future.